37. That's the number of world championship medals Simone Biles has won across her career. 7 of those are named after her. Because no other human being on Earth has been able to execute the skills she invented. Not one. The International Gymnastics Federation didn't just give her gold. They gave her the permanent record of what a human body is capable of doing. For 20 years, the sports world built a single story around Simone Biles. And that story went like this. Some athletes are good. Some are great. Some are legends. And then, at a level that existed entirely alone, there was her. The most studied. The most decorated. The most filmed. The most celebrated American athlete of the last 2 decades. Coaches studied the slow-motion footage of her vaults frame by frame. Music, scientists published papers on her spatial awareness. Young girls in 40 countries pinned her photo to their bedroom walls because she represented the clearest possible answer to the question of what a human body could do if you pushed it hard enough, long enough, without stopping. And then, Simone Biles went to a hospital. And she said 3 words that none of those papers, none of those slow-motion replays, none of those bedroom wall photos had prepared anyone to hear. I almost died. Not a metaphor. Not athletic hyperbole. 3 words spoken by the woman the world had spent 20 years convincing itself was different. Was beyond. Was, in some fundamental way, untouchable by the things that stopped the rest of us. If Simone Biles ever made you believe that some human beings were simply built beyond ordinary limits, leave a like right now as a tribute to the woman who proved that belief wrong in the most frightening way possible. Because what you are about to hear, very few people know. Simone Ariane Biles was born on March 14, 1997 in Columbus, Ohio. By the time she was 3 years old, her mother's struggles with addiction had made it impossible for her to raise 4 children. Simone and her siblings entered the foster care system. They lived there for years until her grandparents, Ron and Nellie Biles, drove from Texas, took the children in, and eventually adopted Simone and her sister Audria. She was 6 years old when her life restarted in Spring, Texas. She discovered gymnastics almost by accident. A daycare field trip to a local gym when she was 6. The coaches there sent a letter home that same week asking if she wanted to train formally. That letter is, in retrospect, one of the most consequential pieces of paper in the history of American sport. By age 8, she was competing. By 14, she was training 6 days a week, 8 hours a day, at a facility outside Houston under coach Amy Borman. The rest of the gymnastics world was watching a prodigy accelerate towards something they didn't yet have a name for. At 16, she won her first all-around title at the World Championships. Then she did it again at 17. And music, 18. And 19. Each year, the performances became something the sport had never categorized before. The Biles on floor, the Biles to a coup on beam, the Yurchenko double pike on vault. Skills so technically demanding, so physically extreme that the Federation named them after her simply because no one else had ever attempted them in competition. The 2016 Rio Olympics were, by every objective measure, a coronation. 4 gold medals, 1 bronze, a team performance that made the American squad look like it was competing in a different sport than everyone else. She came home to a ticker tape parade in New York, endorsement deals, magazine covers, and the kind of cultural moment that turns an athlete into an institution. The world had its narrative. Simone Biles was not like the rest of us. She was built differently. She operated at a frequency the rest of the sport couldn't reach. And that narrative felt true because the evidence for it was overwhelming. And the evidence against it was carefully, quietly, held away from every camera and every microphone. Then came 2021, the Tokyo Olympics, and the moment the narrative paused. On the day of the team final, in front of a global audience, Simone withdrew from the event. She cited her mental health. She withdrew from the individual all-around final the next day. Then the vault. Then, the uneven bars. Then, the floor exercise. She competed only in the balance beam final and won bronze. The world reacted with confusion, with admiration, with debate. But what the world didn't see, what Simone herself would only begin to speak about in fragments over the years that followed, was that Tokyo wasn't where the wait began. Tokyo was just where it finally became too heavy to hide. What the body carries. There is a version of Simone Biles that the world knows in extraordinary detail. The slow-motion replays, the frame-by-frame breakdowns, the biomechanics papers, the footage of her launching herself off a 4 inches beam at speeds and angles that make sports scientists stop and recalculate. That version is real. Every number attached to it is accurate. But there is another version. The one that existed in the same body at the same time, behind the same performances, and that version was never filmed. Elite artistic gymnastics is one of the most physically demanding disciplines in professional sport. Not because of a single dramatic moment of impact, but because of accumulation. Years of it. A gymnast at Simone's level trains through pain that most professional athletes would consider career-ending. Stress fractures are managed, not rested. Joint degradation is tracked, not stopped. The nervous system absorbs thousands of high-impact landings per year on ankles, on knees, on a spine that is asked to rotate and compress and extend in ways that have no equivalent outside the sport. Simone Biles began serious training at 8 years old. By the time she stood on the floor in Tokyo at 24, her body had been operating at elite level for 16 years. 16 years of 6-day training weeks. 16 years of landings, 16 years of the physical arithmetic that the medal count and the slow-motion footage never showed. The world saw the performance. It never saw the invoice. Tokyo and the wait that followed. What happened in Tokyo has been discussed, analyzed, and debated more than almost any single moment in modern Olympic history. But the conversation almost centers on the decision itself. To withdraw, to prioritize mental health, to choose self-preservation over competition. What gets discussed less is what came before that decision. And what came after. Simone has spoken in interviews and in her own documentary about the twisties. A phenomenon unique to gymnastics, where an athlete loses spatial awareness midair. Not a fear of heights, not nerves, a genuine neurological disconnect between what the body is doing and what the brain can track. For a gymnast executing a vault at full speed, the twisties are not a performance problem. They are a safety emergency. She felt them in Tokyo. She withdrew. And the world argued about what that meant. But here is what the argument missed. The twisties don't arrive without warning.